I'm Joel with Coreware. Today we're going to talk about FLP, Firearms Legal Protection. We have with us John Brand, who is a brand master when it comes to FLP. So, John, tell us a little about yourself, how you came to be in FLP, what your experience is. Just go into that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on the webinar. So I'm here in Texas, and that's where I'm based out of. And I've been an instructor and in the gun industry for a little over a decade now. It's going on almost 15 years. I've managed different gun stores and different gun ranges. I've been behind the counter selling guns. I've got all my instructor licensing. I have my NRA instructor certificates. I am state licensed in the state of Texas. I do the LTC class. It's what we call our carry permit here in Texas, the LTC. So I've been doing that for as far as the instruction for and teaching for about 10 years for that. But I've been in the industry as a whole for about 15 years. Um, the way I kind of got linked up with FLP is that, I needed protection. I needed protection for myself, obviously. And so I kind of wanted to see who had the best protection. And I ended up with FLP. And then they asked me if I kind of wanted to start, working with them. And so I was selling FLP behind the counter at the gun store and the gun range. And then I was recommending it to all of my students that take my LTC class. And I mean, it's thousands upon thousands of students every year that I have coming through my LTC class. I've been very fortunate at this facility that we've built up the number one carry permit program in Texas. And so it's a lot of students every year. And so I've personally had the protection for myself for 9 years, being protected by
Wow.
them. And just after doing the research, I felt they had the best protection that I wanted for myself and for my family. And then when they asked me if I wanted to start, working with them and getting, the sales behind the counter and the sales in my classroom with my students, it was a no-brainer for me. I'm already covered. I'm already
Right.
protected. So yeah, this
Yep.
is something everybody needs.
Well, John,
Um,
tell us exactly what is FLP, because there's a lot of people out there saying, "Okay, you've had this for 9 years. What exactly have you had for 9 years?"
Yeah, so with FLP, where it's a little bit different from some other companies you might have heard of, is that FLP is not insurance, it is a legal service. It is your attorneys fighting for you, and what you get with the protection is that you don't have a copay. You're not having your rates go up if you do have to use your protection, like with insurance, like, just get in a car wreck and then your rates go up. So that's not how we do it. We are a legal service. It is your attorneys fighting for you. And the big thing with us is that our attorney fees are uncapped. So it's uncapped attorney fees for the criminal and for the civil trials later when you're getting sued versus, other companies, if it's an insurance product and they have a cap and the client can run out of money. And I mean, that was the big selling point for me when I wanted to get protected is that you can't predict the incident you're going to have. So you can't predict how much money you're going to need in attorney fees. And if there's a cap, you can run out of money and now you got to start paying. So we're uncapped. We pay the attorneys directly. So there's no upfront costs for you. You're not having to pay the attorney and then we reimburse you. Um, Really nice thing aside from those attorney fees that you're not going to run out of money is that when you do the premium plans, then you're covered in all 50 states. So when you're traveling for work or pleasure, you're covered. We pay the bail, get you bailed out so you're not sitting in jail with actual criminals and you can get home to
So,
your
John,
family.
John's jumping ahead of us because we actually have a section where we're going to talk about the different plans, correct? But what
Yeah.
real quick, yeah, real quick, what I wanted to point out is what makes it to me what makes this so special is FLP is an excellent service. But if you go to any gun range or gun store and you want to purchase a service like this, what they're going to do is they're going to hand you a stack of paperwork and tell you to
Yeah.
go visit a website to fill everything out, right?
Yeah.
So you're depending on that person. You know what they're going to do when they get out. They're going to throw the paperwork away. So
Right.
what makes this so spectacular is the fact that with Coreware, you can actually offer FLP at the register. So as someone's making a purchase, whether it's ammo, a gun, a knife, whatever it is, you could say, "Hey, would you like to have this protection added to your cart?" Or if they're online, with Core Force and Core Fire.
Yep.
Offer it online. And it's I know we're going to talk about the profit and everything, but I really want people to realize we're not just talking about FLP as a great, solution for your customers. This is a great solution for you and your customers, you as the store owner. So, John, tell us, obviously, you had a trip recently to a pretty well-known gun store. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that trip and what you did there?
Yeah, so I mean, and he's absolutely right. The great thing for your clients is that they can get it from you right there on the Coreware Core Store POS, and it's just a SKU in the Core Store that just gets added to the tab, and it makes it so simple and so easy to get them protected and to get you guys that pure profit off of a product you have no overhead in, that's not taking up any kind of space on your showroom floor. It's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, and I'll show you too. We'll have that here up in a little bit. I was out in Arizona with one of our partners out there at Tombstone Tactical. I think it's a name that a lot of people know. I mean, people across the country that don't live in Arizona know that name. And so I went out there, and I'm the director of implementation with Firearms Legal Protection, and we have this whole implementation team, and we come out and we help the owners get their employees trained. I mean, you guys probably know that, you've got some employees that are salespeople and some that are order takers. And so, with the experience I have from being in the gun industry and selling, is that I train up the employees and my team trains up the employees and we teach them how to sell. And the nice thing is, we do a true partnership with our partners. It's not just about your employees selling the FLP and making you that money. We want your employees trained on how to sell everything that you sell. So we want you making those profit margins also off of the accessories that you sell. Because, I mean, let's face it, that's where the margins are, not in guns. So we want them not just a customer walks into your store and, hey, I want a Glock 19. And all they leave with is a Glock 19. We want them leaving with ammo that you sell. We want them leaving with holsters, optics, extra magazines, cleaning kits, range bags, everything that you sell. We're going to come to teach your employees how to sell all of it. One thing that we did that's really cool that we did with this partnership is that we've got this checklist that we created, and I'll show it here for you guys to see. So we've got this training tool, and I mean, obviously, we can custom make this checklist to whatever anybody wants. And it's a great training tool and helpful sales tool for the employees because they just bust out this checklist with each transaction. And it's like, all right, check, we got the firearm. All right, do you need some ammo, range ammo to go shoot? Hollow points for self-defense, optics. The checklist has everything on here for your employees to be reminded to offer this customer, because what we don't want is that the customer gets home and they think, oh man, I should have got a holster for this. I should have bought an optic. And then they get on Amazon and they buy some cheap stuff versus they could have spent that money and bought it right there in your store and you made the profit. And then from the customer side is they see this checklist and that's been created for them to go through and figure out what they need and what they don't need. And then you can see at the very bottom of it, it also has the firearms legal protection to remind your employee to ask them if they have legal protection already. And if not, hey, here's this great protection company that we partnered with called Firearms Legal Protection. They protect our employees, they protect the owner of the company. And so, yes, great, they get it. And if they don't get it, that's, it happens, then they just have to check, no, I declined it and sign and date it. And so that way they can't say they weren't offered it if they have an incident happen to them later. But the big thing with the checklist is to get them selling all of your inventory, not just FLP, but everything that you have in the store, because we want to help the company be as profitable as possible in every aspect. And so that's just one thing we do. And so that's what I did. Me and my team, we get behind the counter at Tombstone, and we're just an employee of Tombstone for the day. We're dealing with the customers. They're walking in. We're taking care of their needs. We're getting them the gun they came in for. Everything about the customer first for why they showed up at the store. And at the very end, once we've got them all this, we've gone through the checklist, got them all the accessories, everything like that. At the very end, we tell them about the FLP protection and get them signed up with that. And it's as simple as the employee literally just adding it to their tab through the Core Store SKU. And I mean, the integration with Coreware, and I mean, I had zero training on Coreware and on Core Store. I had seen it out at SHOT Show and I saw the demonstration, but I get behind the counter at Tombstone with a system I've never even used, and it was easy. It is the easy. I've gone through probably over my career 6 different POSs. This was hands down the best POS I've ever used, and I was able to use it with zero training, selling guns, doing 4473s. Like I was blown away at how simple it was because I was worried I was going to have to get an employee to like start training me on the core store and how I can do this. And so it was just a real easy process to integrate in with the employees there and showing them how to use this checklist, how to sell everything, and how to sell the FLP. And I was still able to do it all myself on the core store POS with zero training. So, I mean, I definitely recommend getting the training on core store and all the reports you can run and everything. But just the simple transaction and sales process, zero training, and I was selling all their stuff.
And just to clarify, this is this is not a a core store webinar. This is a FLP webinar, but hey, seriously, it is if it makes that big of an impact on someone that, is behind the counter and, has been doing this for years. Listen to the experience that he's telling you. Let me ask you this, John. What's required for you guys to show up on site to do something like that, like you did with Tombstone?
I mean, it's talking with the owner or the general manager, whoever it is that's we're going to be coordinating with that company, and figuring out a date and time that works. I'm always traveling all around the country to all of our partnerships, to all of these stores and gun ranges and gun stores. Um, and I mean, we've got some that, some of them are, bigger stores and bigger ranges. Some of them are little small ones. Maybe it's, what they do for retirement for fun and they've opened up a gun store. Some of them, it's, they just, they sell out of their house. They've got their FFL in their house. So, I mean, we've got all kinds of partnerships with all kinds of different size companies and what they do. Some of them have training classes, some of them don't. It just depends on the company, but I just get coordinated with either the owner or the GM, whoever it is that the owner of the company wants to kind of be in charge of that, whether it's themselves or the GM. And then we just set up a time to come out there and train the employees. And, I've been out to Tombstone multiple times. I've gone out there several times. We have, other partnerships all in that general area. And so I go out there and I see them, I see our other accounts and go out and help and train and bring the team out to get those employees trained. Because again, some of them I've encountered it. It wasn't something I thought about really at first, but I've realized that a lot of the companies have order takers and not salespeople that aren't pushing all their product, and
Right.
we want that. Yes, we want the FLP sales, and we want you to make the money off the FLP sales, but we also want you to make the money off everything else that you sell too.
Right. Yeah. So, John, you took it upon yourself to come up with this form while you were at Tombstone. Is that correct?
No, I didn't come up with this. This was something that the president of our company and the owner of Tombstone came up with. This was not something
Oh,
I came
wow.
up with.
Okay.
I got told about it and saw it, and I was like, this is genius. Because I mean,
Right.
even for some of your sales guys, I mean, let's face it, man, it can be long hours depending on the company and how you work the employees. So it could be at the end of the day, you're tired or your employee's tired, and they just don't think to offer, the ammo, the holster, the range bag, the cleaning kit. And so I mean, that checklist comes in real helpful too. We did it at Tombstone because I mean, you're there from open to close when you work at Tombstone. So I mean, I'm
Right.
there from 8 in the morning to 7 o'clock at night, working side by side with those employees. And I mean, it did. It got to the end of the night where even I was grabbing that checklist like you do with every transaction, and I was telling the customer like, "Man, it's been a long day. We've been here for a long time. Let's just make sure we don't forget anything that you're gonna need."
Right. Hey, and anybody that's ever made a purchase anywhere, like if I ever, little personal information, if I purchase anything from Amazon, man, 20 minutes later, I'm thinking, did I, did I really get everything that I needed? You know what I mean? Or when you leave the grocery store, you're like, did I really get everything that I needed? So having this checklist is a great way to keep everybody focused on, obviously why they're there, which is obviously to move product, but
Right.
it's also a great way for the customers to remember because you're not pushing stuff on them. You're just reminding them. If you buy a firearm, most likely you're going to need a holster. I don't know how many firearms I've bought and then remembered, where am I going to put this thing?
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
Like and then it slides around in your seat, for a week, or it's tumbling around in your bag or whatever until you remember again. So this is really cool, man, and I think it goes a long way to demonstrate how much you guys care not only about your product but about the people that are selling your product, which is we all want to be in business with people that we trust, and FLP is a solid company when it comes to that. Let me ask you this, because I know we're going to get into plans and profits and all this other stuff. But what I want to do for everyone out there is to demonstrate what 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 does the process look like if I walk into Tombstone and I'm purchasing. You know what? I don't really need anything. I just needed a magazine. So I walk in, I take the magazine to the counter. What does the process look like from start to finish, from the time that I purchased that magazine and FLP to the time that I'm calling an attorney? What can you give me a exactly what that looks like? As far
So
as
yeah, so I mean the way it works, and I mean we had people that walked into Tombstone that we didn't. One guy came in looking for FAL mags, and unfortunately they were sold out at the time, and they had an order on for getting them, but we didn't have the mags at the time, and so I just told him real quick about FLP. Literally, the only thing he bought that day was the FLP protection. That's all he walked out with was protected by FLP.
which,
Um,
by the way, that was the that sale that sell you made was the most profitable sell they made all day. Like literally. The only
yeah.
thing they paid for was probably the electricity to be able to run the register, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
'cause I mean,
it. And we'll get
you
into
sell
that,
a
but
Glock, and you're lucky if you make $35, $40 profit if you sell a Glock.
right.
After you
Right.
take in employee expenses and everything like that.
Yeah.
But whatever the customer, like whatever they're getting, gun, just ammo, just a mag, all of it, just FLP, they literally just go to the register and it gets added onto their tab. And the big thing is with your core store customer base of making sure you have their correct email. And so the way it works is that they're getting an individual premium plan, which I'll show you that in a second, and it's $41.90. And so that's what the FLP costs. That 41.90 goes into the register. It is pure profit for the store. The store keeps the entire 41.90. That is the store's money. And then as soon as they check out, as soon as it's checked out, here's your receipt. They are already covered and protected by us to the point that when they're leaving your store, if something happened in the parking lot, they're already protected by us. We're already paying those attorney fees for them for that incident that just occurred. And when they check out, they instantly also receive an email from FLP. And that's the important part of making sure that you have their correct email in the core store customer base because they instantly get the email from us. And that email now gives them the option of what they want to do next. Because with that initial 41.90 they just paid at your store, that is covering their setup fee and their first month of protection. So no matter what, for the next month, they have their coverage and protection from us. And then when they open up the email, they complete out their protection of what they want to do next going forward, and they can continue their protection with that individual premium plan for only $20 a month. So, one less Domino's order a month, and they have all their attorney fees covered by us, and they're protected. They get the option to upgrade it to an annual plan. If they want to switch to an annual, it works out to where the customer gets about 2 months for free. And so it saves them like $40 there because it's, only $20 a month. They also have the option if they need to upgrade it to a family plan. And with that, it'll cover their spouse, any minor children that they have that are 17 and under. So when they get the family
Hey,
plan, they're all
real
covered.
quick, since you're talking about it, can you share that? Because we're not
Yeah,
seeing your screen. I don't know if you
let me bring
were
that up for
sharing.
you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. There we go.
so it's this one right
So,
here in the middle that they're getting. And so with that premium plan, they're not getting the basic, they're getting the premium plan. And the way that works is you've got your uncapped attorney fees. You're covered in all 50 states. So when you're traveling, you're covered. We pay the bail, and then you get all your extra perks from us. We pay for the expert witnesses. We pay for the investigators. We do a lost wages reimbursement. You're missing work, you're going to court. So we help reimburse for the lost wages that the client's missing out on while going to court. We cover you for any legal weapon. That's a big one with us. It doesn't just have to be a gun. Any legal weapon that you used, a gun, a knife, a hammer, a baseball bat, your dog. Now, probably not like a Chihuahua, but if you've got like a German Shepherd, Belgian Malinois, Doberman, Pit Bull, whatever, if your dog defends you, we're paying your attorney fees. And then we have counseling support. It's not us. We pay for the counseling support. So after this traumatic incident, a lot of people have issues they need to work out after going through this. It is very traumatic when you go through this. And so we'll pay for the counseling so you can work out those issues. And then a really, really, really big perk that all of our clients get is that they get our FLP app. And what the app does is whether you have a carry permit or not, it does not matter to us. Whether you're licensed or unlicensed, we protect you. You don't need to have a carry permit to be protected. But with the app, it's going to show you all the states that you're reciprocal with that carry permit that you have. Because you plug in your carry permit to the app, it shows you all the states you're reciprocal with, all the ones you're not. And then more importantly for you when you're traveling, you just click on the state you're going to. It gives you all the laws you need to know for that state. Their transport laws for having it in your vehicle, their signs you have to look for where you're not allowed to carry, their prohibited areas, their magazine capacity laws. That's a big one getting people in trouble these days. These magazine capacity laws that states have passed that make zero sense to me. But that's a big one. And so before you leave for your trip, you just pull up that app and click on that state so that you're not breaking their laws when you're in that state. It's a very helpful tool. I use it all the time when I travel, and I travel all the time. So I use it all the time when I'm traveling, going to Arizona, going to Louisiana, going to Wisconsin. So I use it all the time.
I don't think anybody thinks about the. I'm looking at the plans right now. The the incident scene cleanup. I
Right,
don't think anyone thinks about, like, we don't, as humans. First off, we think we're going to win everything, right?
right,
But we don't think like, okay, you won, dude. Who's going to clean your house up? You know what I
exactly.
mean? Or your vehicle, or like, not saying you're going to do anything in your vehicle. Don't get me wrong, but who's gonna clean that up? And we don't think about that. And you guys offer that service. Can you tell me? Can you just give me a? Can you give me a worst case scenario that you've heard of happening where you guys have had to do that? I mean, because again, no one wants to go there, right? No
Right.
one wants to go there in their
Not the
mind. You
nicest
need
subject
to,
to talk about, right? Yeah.
right? You need to be able to know that it's a reality. It could absolutely happen. I'm assuming that you guys have paid out on that in the past.
Yeah, so it's an example that I give to my students in class when I'm teaching the LTC program here in Texas, and I just let them know, like, if God forbid something happens and this takes place in your home, somebody kicks in your door, they come into your house to harm you, harm your family, and you defend yourself and you shoot them and they die. When you're allowed back into your house, the body's gone, but the mess is still there. The blood is still there. The police do not stick around and clean up your home for you. And what a lot of people don't think about is that blood is classified as a biological agent. And so you have to hire a hazmat company to come clean that up. And I mean, no joke, man. They come into your house all hazmat suited up, like a nuclear bomb just went off in your house because it's a biological agent. And I mean, those services with those companies can cost between $3,000 and $5,000. And so we, FLP, we pay that company, we pay that bill and get your home cleaned up for you so you don't have to worry about that and, relive that traumatic experience that you've just been through. The other thing to remember is in that situation, we cover you for any legal weapon, any weapon. But if it's a gun, that gun's going to be sitting in an evidence room for a real long time before you ever get it back. If you ever get it back, a lot of people don't. So one thing that we do with our plan too is that if it was a gun, we have a firearm confiscation payment for you. We cut the client a check so they can go buy a new gun. Because for some people, it's the only gun they own. Now they're disarmed. And for some people, it's the only good little carry gun they own. And now they don't have a carry gun anymore. So we cut them a check while they're going through this, while their gun's in evidence, so they can go buy another one. Because some people literally never get their firearm back. It took me 2 years to get my gun back from evidence, and I only got it back in 2 years because he took a plea deal. That's the only reason I got it back in 2 years. And this happened almost 17 years ago. Because what people forget is that if it goes to trial and they're found guilty, then they've got years worth of appeals to exhaust. Not the client, but the criminal. They've got years worth of appeals to exhaust. It can take a decade plus to exhaust them. They have to keep the gun as evidence for all the future trials until the appeals are exhausted. So we'll help get you your new gun too.
Wow. Another one I see, and maybe you can give us some examples of payment for expert witness. Like, can you give us some examples of like who would be an expert witness for what?
Um, so I mean, a big one that obviously made national news was the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. And if you watch the trial, then you saw all the just terrible, wrong lies that the prosecutor was saying during that trial. And what really helps in these trials is the expert witnesses that you have. They're going to come out and explain why everything that guy just said is completely wrong, not how it works, not how a defense situation works. So, I mean, it does depend on the incident and what kind of expert witness you're going to need, in addition to investigators, to track down witnesses, to, track down video footage if it's possible. The police aren't doing all of that for you. And so these expert witnesses, I mean, some of them bill out at $900 an hour. You can rack up thousands in their fees alone versus with having our protection, we pay for the expert witnesses, we pay for the investigators. One that's a really well-known name that I'm guessing a lot of you have heard of is Masad Ayub. He gets hired as an expert witness for trials. Now, he's definitely one of the top expert witnesses for that, so he is pretty pricey. There's always John Correa with active self-protection. He's been hired as an expert witness before. So it's going to be people of kind of those disciplines that have this expertise. I mean, John, he's one of the world's experts on analyzing gunfights. So, I mean, that's a great expert witness to have when it's a gun incident. And especially if there's video footage of it, so he can show exactly where, yes, you had every right to fear for your life. This person had every right to fear for their life. Because look, they're coming at them with a knife. They're real close to them. They had every right to pull out that gun. And I mean, you've got people on the jury that some are anti-gun, some know nothing about defense, and just the stories and the lies that can come from the prosecutor's office, it starts making sense to them because they don't know anything about it. And it's where your expert witness comes in to educate them. And we pay for that so that that doesn't happen to you in court where nobody is there explaining why everything the prosecutor just said is completely wrong.
Right. Another one that I see that I really like is the payment for investigators. So a lot of
Right.
people don't realize, well, the police are investigating, right? The police are investigating. They're trying to wrap a case up. They're not trying to defend you. So what FLP is going to do is they're going to bring in investigators that are going to look at it from your perspective. They're not going to say, okay, we're law enforcement. We're going to try to figure this whole thing. No, they're coming at it from your perspective, which is, what did you do right? Right? I mean, am I getting that right, John?
Yeah, I mean, the investigators are there because, I mean, and you're absolutely right. The police want to wrap this up, get on to the next case. They want to get it done as quick as possible. Let's face it, they don't like paperwork. They don't want it to drag on. And so there might be things that they missed, a witness that they didn't know existed. A Ring doorbell camera that they didn't see that they happened to miss when walking by through the neighborhood, or just somebody else's cameras on the outside of their house, whatever it is. That's where your investigators are there for you to help you. The police are there not for you, but to figure out what has happened, what charges need to be filed, that they're going to pass up to the DA to file those charges. And so they're there to do a job, and their job is to gather evidence that's going to be used against you later. And so, the thing I tell all my students is with this FLP protection, on your membership card that you get from us, there is a 24/7 emergency hotline number, what you talked about in the beginning, and it's answered by an attorney. every time it's an attorney. So you right now, right off the bat, are now covered and protected by attorney-client confidentiality. Whatever you're saying on that hotline is privileged conversation with an attorney. Whatever you're saying to that attorney cannot be subpoenaed like the 911 calls or like if you were talking to a customer service rep in a call center like with other companies. And the nice thing with us is we have this entire attorney network all around the country of top criminal defense and civil attorneys from top law firms that literally, if you hired the attorney on your own, they would bill you $800 to $1,000 an hour. You can literally have the same exact attorney for $20 a month with our plan. But the nice thing is the attorney that you're on the hotline with is getting in touch right then and there while you're on the phone with them with the closest local attorney in the network to get them dispatched out to the scene to deal with the police for you and talk to the police for you. And the back of your membership card, it's really cool. It tells you on the back what to say to 911, so you won't incriminate yourself with them, and what to say to the police when they show up, so you don't incriminate yourself with them. Because the police, they're great, good people risking their lives for us every year across this country. At a crime scene, that officer is not your buddy. He is there doing a job, which is gathering evidence, and they're good at that, and it's going to be used against you later. And so I tell all my students it's so simple with that officer, be polite, give them your licensing so they know who you are, but instantly invoke your Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights, ask for your attorney, and then all you have to do is keep your mouth shut after that. Don't say another word. And hopefully you've already called the FLP emergency hotline before the police even get there. And if not, after they get there, but preferably before the police get there, because that attorney you're talking to is going to tell you the same thing I just told you. Exercise your rights, ask for your attorney, and then just be quiet. The attorney will take everything else. FLP will handle everything else.
That's awesome. So I'm moving on to the next one. I'm kind of listing these. I know you went over some of them, but they're kind of hitting a little bit harder as I go through and read them. So
Right.
the coordination of counseling support, you did mention that, and we don't ever go places in our minds, because we're, people by nature, we're positive. We always, you don't want to believe somebody's lying to you. You don't want to believe all these horrible things that are actually real in the world. So we always look on the bright side. It's called normalcy bias. We have normalcy bias. We
Yep.
don't ever think anything horrible happens. So to be able to have that support, because I don't think people realize what you would go through emotionally and mentally after you did that, no matter how evil whatever it is that was trying to hurt you or kill you, right? So
Exactly.
to have that counseling support, man, that to me is just like a little extra touch that you guys throw in there, that you're not just thinking about, hey, you're free, you killed somebody in self defense, you're free. You want to make sure that the person's whole, not just whole as in not in a cell, but whole as a human being. That moves to the next one, which is payment of lost wages during trial. That's a big one, because how long did the Kyle Rittenhouse trial last? Do you know, John?
Man, I mean, because I was watching it. I mean, that was on for what, almost a good 2 weeks, I think. It was a
That
while,
was,
maybe,
yeah.
maybe a week
It
and a half,
seemed
two
like
weeks.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the
So
thing that I'll tell my students is there's three fights, and most people only think of the first fight, which is typically why they're in my class getting their carry permit, why they carry a gun. There's the physical fight, and most people think about that. But the two most people don't think about afterwards, it's the legal fight, because a lot of people have that impression of, oh, I'm the good guy, nothing's going to happen to me. I didn't break the law, I didn't do anything wrong. Well, you and your family and your friends don't get to decide if you're the good guy. Even the police officer there does not get to decide if you're guilty or not. That's not their decision to make. It is the court's decision to make. Your fate is almost always decided by a jury as to whether you did act under the law that day or not, using that force, using that deadly force, whatever it is. And so then there's all these attorney fees, and most people just are shocked by what happens to them afterwards for doing nothing wrong. So we take care, it's up to you to take care of the physical fight, obviously. We're not going to be everywhere with you in your day-to-day lives, clearly. So it's up to you to, make sure you take training courses with, ranges and instructors, and learn and train and get better. But then the second fight is the legal fight and all those attorney fees. We take care of that for you. The third fight, a lot of people, like you're saying, that they don't think about is the mental fight that comes afterwards. You haven't really had time to process it yet. You've defended yourself or your family, and now all of a sudden you're in handcuffs. You're freaking out because you're like, I'm the good guy. Why am I getting arrested? Well, because the courts will decide if you're the good guy and if you had the right to use that force or deadly force. So now you're dealing with that. And now you're dealing with the trial, or hopefully just a grand jury, and you get no billed and not actually getting true billed and going off and having a trial like Kyle Rittenhouse did. Um, and so now all that's over. And now it hits you what you've been through and what you've gone through and what happened. And, that you had to shoot somebody, if it's with a gun. And I mean, maybe they died. I mean, who knows? Every incident's different. It really takes a toll on you. It really does. And I mean, you're going to go through the 5 stages that everybody goes through after that. And so most people don't understand that a lot of people, they've got some serious issues after this and what they've been through and been put through. And they need some counseling support. They need to go talk with a professional and get these issues worked out so it doesn't ruin the rest of their life and eat away at the rest of their life. And so, the physical fight is on you. FLP is going to take care of the legal fight and the mental fight that happens afterwards.
You mentioned the second fight is the legal fight, but we need to talk about the legal fight is actually 2 rounds, or it
Yeah.
could be potentially 2 rounds. So you have criminal and then civil,
Yes.
and you guys have uncapped attorney fees for that. And I think the civil is probably where you would have the most wasted money going, because you know what I mean? It's like the criminal, they're trying to get to something very specific, and the
Correct.
civil, man, you can sue anybody for anything these days, as we're seeing. So, can you tell us
Yep.
a little about? Do you have any real case scenarios that you can share with us in regards to? Yeah, the criminal wasn't bad. It was actually the civil that got them.
I mean, not so much with that. I mean, I can give you some examples that made national news of what people went through that probably most
Yeah.
people heard about. Um, so, you've got the criminal part. You're hoping to get no billed by the grand jury. Even if you're true billed, you're hoping to be found not guilty at trial, obviously. So, like Kyle Rittenhouse would be the perfect example for that. He got true billed. He had to have a trial. He got indicted. And so he spent just around $150,000 in attorney fees for the criminal trial. He's found not guilty. The part that comes afterward is the civil trial. Like, a lot of people think Kyle's done, but he's not. He's got the civil trials now coming. The guy that lived is suing him. The families of the two deceased are suing him. And that's just for now. I'll bet you a couple people come out of the woodworks that were there that night that are going to sue him for emotional pain and suffering. Kyle Rittenhouse is easily going to spend another $300 to $350,000 on attorney fees for those civil trials that are coming. Versus, if he had FLP, we pay the attorney fees in these cases. One that happened close to home for me is here in Texas that a lot of people heard about 3 years ago with Jack Wilson. Jack Wilson is the gentleman that stopped the church shooter out there in Fort Worth about 3 years ago. And what most people, they heard the national news story because national news will tell you about the hero saving the lives in the church, but they don't pick up what happens afterwards. Jack Wilson had to go to a grand jury for that, for saving all those lives in that church. He had to go to a grand jury. The average cost is around $20,000 to $30,000 in attorney fees for you just go to a grand jury to have them no bill you and tell you did nothing wrong. You're not having a trial. The thing that really stinks, Jack Wilson got sued by people civilly that were in the church that day, that he saved their lives. And they sued him civilly for the emotional pain and suffering of what they witnessed in that church when he saved their lives
Wow.
and stopped that psycho. So he got
Golly.
sued by people that he saved.
Yeah.
It's the civil suits. The way I see it with a lot of these is it's legal extortion because they're not all these ambulance chasing attorneys representing these criminals and their families. They're representing them for free. It's on contingency. And so what they're counting on is not that they're going to win the civil case when it goes to trial. What they're counting on is you, the good person, the good law abiding citizen, that you're going to take the settlement that they're offering you to not have a trial. And a lot of people in this country every year that did nothing wrong, no billed by a grand jury, or found not guilty criminally, they take the settlement for the civil side because the settlement is cheaper than what they're going to have to go pay in attorney fees to go to court and fight. And I mean, a pretty common settlement a lot of people have to take these days is between $20,000 and $50,000. And that attorney representing the criminals or their families for free takes usually on average 30 to 40% of that money. And that's how that attorney gets paid. And then the client gets the rest. And so, I mean, it's like legal extortion. They are counting on the settlement because most people settle. Versus
Right.
if you have our protection, you don't have to worry about taking a settlement because we are paying those attorney fees for that civil trial to go to court and fight for you. So you don't even have to worry about it because we're taking care of it. Well,
That's great. Another one is that's becoming more prominent. It's the red flag laws.
yes.
Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate. I don't have those in Texas yet. And I know they're talking about doing it on the federal level. And I don't know the exact number, but I know we're at somewhere around like 13 to 16 states now that have red flag laws. And I mean, if you don't know what they are, it can vary from state to state how it's enacted. In some states, it has to be like a police officer or a judge. In other states, it can be somebody completely random. I forget which state it was. I think it was Maine or Massachusetts, one of the M states. And there is this crossing guard at a school. He's a retired veteran, and just in his retirement, he acts as the crossing guard for this school that's by his house. And he went out to a diner for lunch, and he's sitting at the diner with his buddy, explaining to his buddy that the school resource officer for that school leaves every day for about 20 to 25 minutes when the first bell rings to go get breakfast and coffee. And he's telling his buddy, he's like, this is ridiculous. For that 20 to 25 minutes, the school is completely unsafe. Those children are in harm's way if somebody comes in to shoot the school up because there's no school resource officer there for about 20 to 25 minutes every day after the first bell. The server overheard the conversation, but got bits and pieces of it and misunderstood and thought he meant that he was going to go shoot up the school. So she called the
Wow.
police, told them her version of what she thought she heard, and they showed up and confiscated. They did a red flag law order against him and took away with while violating his Second and Fourth Amendment rights. Because you got to remember, there's no charges, there's no conviction, there's no warrant, and they took away every gun he owned and confiscated them. And then he had to pay an attorney to go to court to fight, and he got his guns back. But it cost him like somewhere around $32,000 in attorney fees because a
Wow.
server misheard a conversation. And so, if you ever have a red flag law order served against you, FLP pays the attorney fees to go to court and fight. And then the nice thing too is most people don't understand that after you win your no build or you're found not guilty in your criminal trial, most people don't understand that, yeah, I mean, that's great, but the charges that were filed against you still show up later on your background checks for your new jobs, for a new loan. And so you have to pay an attorney to go to court to get it all expunged off your record so it won't show up on background checks. And we have that too. We have the expungement benefit. So after you beat those charges, we also pay the attorney to go to court to get this all expunged off your record so the charges don't show up later and ruin a potential new job for you that now they're not offering you because of those charges they saw in the background check. So we do that too and take care of that. So we want our clients
Yeah.
fully protected and covered in fighting every aspect of what occurs in our legal system and what happens to good people that have done nothing
Yeah.
wrong.
And I think that's the difference in FLP and other companies. The fact that you're not again people that I think people that maybe purchase the other stuff, maybe it's a knee jerk reaction. It's
Hmm.
more of, hey, I got to get this so I don't go to jail.
Right.
And you guys, it seems like you've methodically thought everything out that every individual would potentially go through if they use the weapon to defend themselves. You guys have thought of it and covered it. So when you get firearms legal protection, you're not getting an attorney. You're not getting, your bail paid, which is what most people think because again, we don't want to go there in our minds. We think everything's just going to turn out. The guy was coming at me with an M60 machine gun. Of course I shot him. You know what I'm saying? That's how we think it's all going to play out. But
Yeah.
it may not, and to be able to, have that card, pull it out, and know you're not calling an attorney, you're calling a team. You're calling an entire legal team. You know what I mean? You're calling an entire defense team, right? That gets to work right then and there.
Yep.
And again, that's great for, for our viewers. It's great for your customers, but you know what's awesome for you is the profit. First off, you're offering an awesome product to your customers. It's not, some of these services, to be quite honest with you, are kind of, they feel icky. I'm sorry, but, and it may be the faces that those companies put out there just feels icky the way it's presented. But this is a necessary service. It's a good thing to offer your customers. They don't have to buy it. That's fine. You're offering them something good. This is better than a Glock. It just is. Glock's my favorite gun, by the way. But having this protection's better than Glock, because it's more meaningful and it's going to pay off. Hopefully won't, but it will pay off if you need it. So, John, I'm really excited to explain. We talked about that pure profit. So if I were to go into Tombstone, go ahead. You were going to say something.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you. I was listening.
So I walk into Tombstone and I wanna buy that magazine. You're out, but you offer me this. I purchase it. I walk out. Well, no, I don't walk out yet, right? Because as soon as I purchase it, I get the email,
Right.
right? And the person behind the counter, you got to tell that person, hey, if you go in and hey, and you could even give your customers a free membership, or a free pass, a day pass to the range to get them to do this. It's not going to really cost anything, a little wear and tear on the range, but that's an extra $10. So you're potentially looking at $50 of pure profit,
Yeah,
like
50,
pure profit.
51.90. Yeah.
51.9, so $52 of pure profit. It didn't cost you anything to stock. You don't have to wait for a truck to bring it and deliver it, right? You don't have to be there for it to be delivered. It is always on tap, right? So
Yeah,
I
because they
I
take the
think maybe
41.90 right there at the register. So that initial sale for their first month, that 41.90, boom, right in the register, pure profit. And it is the employees reminding that customer as soon as they check out, hey, open it, pull out your phone, open up that email, and do what you want to do next to continue your protection, whether it's only 20 for the month, upgrade to annual, family. But when they complete the email, that's when we're going to mail them. FLP mails out their welcome packet to the client, their membership card, their lifetime price lock card, because they get a lifetime price lock too. So when we do price increases over the years, because we've added in new perks, your clients have a lifetime price lock. So they'll get the new perk put into their plan for free. But the other benefit for you, the owners of these stores, is that when they complete it, there's another $10 now that they've completed that we direct deposit into your accounts, because that money didn't go into your the 41.90's in your register, that's all yours. But when they complete it, we have the $10 bonus that we pay to the company. So I mean, if you sell 200 in a month and all 200 completed the email, then here's another $2,000 that we direct deposit into your account. If only 100 of the 200 completed, then well, okay, here's $1,000 we're going to direct deposit into your account.
that's
But
mind
you've got
blowing. Hey,
51.90 pure profit.
yeah, and here's another thing. A lot of people, if you want, your salespeople to actually sell this, you could say, hey, for every sell that you get them to, for every, sell you make, and you get them to obviously finish that process online, you're getting an extra $10. So what does that do for that employee behind the counter, right? You and I had talked about this, John. Everybody wants more money. Everybody, and we think about, $1 an hour raise or a $2 an hour raise. Tell me what is possible. Like you visited Tombstone. Tell me what those guys could potentially do
Well,
with something like this.
It varies from company to company, obviously, and based on how much foot traffic and business they have, which obviously that is a store that is constantly busy. I mean, the sales they do blows me away. I mean, I was blown away, and I'm in the industry for a long time, and I was just blown away at the foot traffic. Um, but it just depends. I mean, every account's going to be different in how they do things. A lot of the owners have incentivized their employees also, and the employee wanting to sell the FLP because out of the initial 4190, a lot of the companies, the owners are giving $10 of that 4190 to the employee as a commission. I mean, and every account's different. Like some accounts have commission for gun sales or membership sales to the range or firearm warranties if they do that. Like everybody's different in how they run their companies, and that's great because we're never here to tell you how to run the company. It's your company. Do what you do best. If there's anything we can ever help or advice we can give, we're happy to do that because again, we want to help grow your company as much as possible. Um, with everything that you do. Like if we can get you more students for your training classes, we'll do that too. But a lot of them incentivize the employee by giving them 10 of the 4190. So the owner took 3190, the employee got 10, but the employee has now been incentivized to actually keep selling FLP and keep recommending it to all your clients and getting them covered, which is just going to be more sales for you and more money for you. The $10 that we direct deposit into the owner's bank account, the company account, when they complete the email, that varies. So some owners keep the $10 for themselves, and some owners are also giving the $10 extra to the employee also. So I mean it varies, and like in some cases the employee has a potential to make $20 off each sale, and in some it's 10. It depends on the owner and what they want to do, and that's your decision clearly. But no matter what, I mean, a lot of I remember from back in my days, a lot of the gun store employees, they're going to the managers, they're going to the owners, trying to get a raise. And I mean, we're talking like they just want $1 or $2 extra an hour. If they're doing this, if they sell one FLP an hour, minimum, depending on the company, they have a $10 an hour raise if they're giving that employee
Yeah,
the $10 commission. They instantly made a $10 an hour
crazy.
raise. If they sell two or three, they got $20, $30 an hour raise by just selling
Right,
this. And I bet it
right,
might cut down on some of your employees bugging you for that extra dollar to $2 an hour. It's
right,
like, hey, I'm giving you an opportunity to make $10 extra an hour, $20 extra an hour, $30 extra an hour. And I mean, it depends
right.
on the company, obviously, but there's some of these employees, they're making an extra $10,000 to $15,000 a year on top of what they already make on their hourly. There's other ones,
Wow.
they're making an extra $50,000 to $70,000 extra a year.
Wow.
And I mean, that's the $10. So now take into account what the owner and what the company is making off of those sales. If the employee is making an extra $50,000 a year, you're making somewhere around 150, 180. Some of them are making 250,000 extra a year off just FLP sales.
Right. That's
So I
crazy.
mean, it depends on the facility because with us, there's ways to sell that no other company does. So, yes, you can sell in the classroom to your students. But with Core, you now have the opportunity to
Wait.
sell it right over the counter through the POS instantly and with the Core store. And then if you've got the website, Core Fire or Core Force, and Core does your website, well, now you have the opportunity to also sell it on the website. And I mean, and you can see it. Like if you go to Tombstone's website, you don't even have to put anything in the cart. If you just click on their cart, you're going to see when you go to checkout, instantly there's an FLP banner that pops up right above it that gives them the option to add the FLP protection to the cart. And that's a full 4190. I mean, for the company, let's face it, if they went to your website, there's no employee to give the $10 commission to versus when they sell it in person in your store. So that full
Right.
4190. And then if they complete it, an extra $10. And so I mean 5190 total for the store right there with that. So I mean everybody's
This is
different in how
pure
they're going to do
profit we're
it.
talking about. Yeah,
Yeah, there's
pure
there's no
profit. Like,
overhead, there's no product to take up floor space or anything like that. It's on your website,
right.
it's in your POS, or you're doing it in the classroom with an application. There's
And it's a
literally
good
nothing.
solution. It's not just a solution, it's a really good, solid solution that a lot of care and thought was put into when it was, you know, when they came up with it. Um,
Right.
Man, this has been enlightening, John. Is there anything else that we need to talk about? I saw some questions being asked, but man, FLP has been on point when it comes to responding. I mean, it is like immediate over there. So whoever you have doing the FLP chat response, you got to give that guy a raise or gal.
That's our he wanted to be involved with this. That is our vice president of operations answering all the questions.
Oh, Aiden.
Yep, that's Aiden.
Aiden, if you can hear me, we got to try some of that coffee we talked about at Shot. Um, no, it looks like he responded to pretty much all these questions. Um, we will one day. Awesome. Oh, hey, Bradley's here too. Hey, but is there anything else that you can think of that we can cover? Because I think we've covered the entire gamut of what somebody's going to go through as far as being a customer of, or a what do you call them? Customers? You don't call those aren't
Clients.
your those are your clients, right?
Yeah, there are clients,
Yeah,
and I
because it's
mean,
a
and
relationship.
correct. And I mean, that's the thing with us. I mean, when you get to know us and meet us, we're all very pro 2A. We are, LTC holders, carry permit holders, whatever you call it in your state, CCW, whatever it is. We have our carry permits. We're very 2A. We own guns. We want to protect our rights, but we want to protect ourselves financially too. And so it just so many good people every year. I mean, if you look at the statistics for just a gun, not knives or pepper spray or tasers or dogs or hammers, anything else, just guns, it's around 1.5 to 2 million people every year in this country use a gun to stop a crime. And a lot of those people get financially ruined by those attorney fees later. Some people sell their houses to pay for them. Some of them wiped out their kids' college fund accounts they were saving up for. Some of them wiped out their own retirement accounts. And it's like, yeah,
Mm,
great, you're not in jail, but now you got to declare bankruptcy. You're financially ruined. And it's just, we don't want that for our clients. And that's why our service exists, is to protect them. And that way
right.
they don't get financially ruined. It's why no matter whatever happens in my life, even if I'm not with FLP working for FLP, I will always have this protection. I will have it my entire life because I know what people have been through and what they've gone through. I have a few of my students, they've already used their protection plans. Now, there could be more of them, I don't know, but I've had a few of them already come back and just hug me and thank me because they got the FLP protection in my class. And one was this sweet older lady. She had to be in her 70s, just a little tiny thing. And some guy attacked her, wouldn't stop. She shot him. And she came in telling me her story and what happened and hugging me and crying. And she was thanking me because she was like, I got that FLP protection in your LTC class. If I hadn't had it, this would have cost me around $67,000 in attorney fees, and FLP paid for all of it. I just wanted to come in and thank you. So it's why I'll have it for the rest of my life, no matter what. No matter whatever
That's
happens with my
awesome.
future with the company, I hope I have a very long future with the company and career because I believe in this myself. I use it myself. I always have, and I recommend it to my students. Um, but it's just, we are passionate about taking care of people and making sure they don't get financially ruined and put themselves in a situation where it's like, we had to wipe out your college fund account to pay for that
Mm,
incident that took place when they broke into our house. We're sorry, but we don't have your college money anymore. Like, we don't want people to go
right.
through that.
Yeah.
So
Now, no, I see you guys care. Everyone that I've dealt with over at FLP, you guys are genuinely good people, and I'm so glad that we've got an exclusive. I mean, this is like no one else can do this in the industry. You know, you
no,
go to a gun range, if you ask for FLP at the register, they don't have it. Tell them they need to get Coreware. Have us come in there. We can, they can use Core Store, Core Force, Core Fire to
yeah,
sell it online and at the register. It's a obviously, after talking to John today, you guys can see it's a really good thought out solution, well thought out solution for people that carry a gun. We live in dangerous times. It's not going to get any better. I hate to say it. Again, we don't want to go there because we always look on the bright side, but I can guarantee you it's going to get bizarrely weird. So it's, to have a team like this behind you, if you're going to carry a gun, I don't think you can. I don't think you can beat it. And obviously, be using our solutions to be able to offer this to your customers is what we're aiming at as well. So With that, I saw something else pop up on the chat. Let me see.
And I mean, I love the partnership that we've done with Coreware and this amazing POS system. But it's, yes, we obviously care about our clients that have our protection, but it's also our clients that we have the partnerships with, the gun store owners, the gun range owners. We care
Right,
about our partnerships and those people also. And it's why we want to do everything in our power possible to use, knowledge that we have. We've got a lot of contacts all throughout the firearms industry. We've helped build ranges before with people and with our contacts, and we've helped them build their actual range that they've moved from just a gun store to now I'm going to be a gun store and a range. And so we
right.
have all this help that we're willing to give to make our partners as profitable as possible. And so we care about them too and their company and the longevity of their company.
Yep,
Because I mean,
that's awesome.
you've seen the gun stores that over the years go out of business. Especially depending on who the president is at that point in time, and people aren't
Yeah,
freaking out and
sadly, right.
buying guns. So
Yep,
I mean, there's a lot of good gun store owners that had great shops that unfortunately they went under. And we want to come in and help you so that you're making all the profit possible. So hopefully that doesn't happen to you when there's a sitting president that isn't talking about banning everything and taking away all your
right.
guns, and so you're not freaking out buying everything. So we want to do everything we can to make you all this profit, that way you can always stay in business and have longevity and
Absolutely.
open hopefully even more stores. We've had several that
Yep.
now they've gone from one store to three stores. So
Yeah, we've got lots of customers that have multiple locations. So, man, this is really a great solution to sell. Obviously, it's a great solution because it's zero overhead. You're not going to sell anything else and make more profit in your shop. So,
yeah.
um, I think we're gonna end it here. I know I see some questions popping up, but everything I think has been answered. Aiden's doing an excellent rapid fire job of answering questions. So I think with that, we're going to end it. However, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave the chat going. I'm going to mute myself and turn my camera off. And you can do the same, John.
Okay.
And we'll do this for another 5 minutes. And if any more questions come up, Aiden, maybe just keep an eye on the chat, maybe for another 3 or 4 minutes to see if anybody else has any questions. And we'll call it a day. Thank you everyone for not visiting, for watching our webinar live. Obviously, we're gonna have a replay. It's probably gonna be, I'm hoping, my last one. I broke all records. I did it in like 2 days. Hopefully, I can do that this time. But if not, we're talking Monday, maybe Tuesday. Be sure to catch our next webinar, which the date will be right here. We're going to be talking to Gunspot and some exciting things they're doing. So with that, John, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, Joel. Thanks for having me on. It's great to see you again. I haven't seen you since the Amchart conference, so that was back in
That's
February.
yeah,
So it's good to see you
that's
again.
it's been a while. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you in the next one.
Wouldn't it be great if life was like the movies and the good guy always won? In reality, we know this isn't always the case. If you have to use a weapon to defend yourself or others, a series of events will unfold, likely ending with you being arrested and having your weapon taken by law enforcement while an investigation begins. Firearms Legal Protection can help. Americans have lost their savings, retirement, children's college funds, and more as a result of not having prepared legal representation for a self-defense incident. At Firearms Legal Protection, we recognize that it is important to preserve and protect the rights of anyone who uses a firearm or other legal weapon in defense of themselves or others. Firearms Legal Protection pays 100% of your criminal and civil attorney's fees in your defense. Our attorney network is ready to aid in your defense when you call our 24/7 emergency attorney answered hotline. Effectively protecting yourself involves more than just owning a firearm and knowing how to use it. You must also be armed with a plan to protect yourself, legally and financially, to ensure peace of mind. Firearms Legal Protection offers many other benefits that will help you win your case and return to your life. A Firearms Legal Protection membership can provide protection and peace of mind, defending you in the fight after the fight. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.